Okay, looks like we're live. Thank you everyone for coming. Uh, Today I want to show you something that some of you may encounter this kind of problem in the future where you're trying to make the mechanics of your game, but it's a little bit boring because it's very plain the level. Like if I play my game, I can attack. This is like a turn-based strategy game, so I can just charge it and attack people for now. Nothing fancy. I can pass my turn. Can go for the swordman, and you see that they will keep the position. There are a lot of things that are coming out, but for now, like I can just move and just play the game a little bit. Now this is a map that is meant to be used for testing gameplay mechanics. It's not meant to be used to test the level design. So we cannot really test if something is fun or not until we actually put it in the context of the level design. Games that don't have level design, that they really need pretty much no level design to little level design, maybe something like a fighting game. Games with a lot of level design, maybe platformer games. And you can combine those like with action games. You have things like Mega Man where you have a lot of platform elements, but also a lot of action, a lot of combat. Or you can just go full platformer where it's just avoiding obstacles, or if it's like a shooter game, you will want to have some level design because you just don't want people to spawn here and just shoot, anywhere, right? So that's why level design is important, and this is why I want to try some level design for this game. At this moment, like, we don't have any, and the reason is we haven't figured out the metrics of how far the player can run, what is the distance between the enemies, and this kind of stuff, right? So it's just really nice. I think we already have something in place where we can try some stuff. So I created this level that is like level metrics, and of course this is our level design. I'm gonna show you how I will go about it. So here I have Gaia. It's a software for generating terrains, and honestly you can do a lot of things in Unreal. You can use Gaia or any other software, but how to say, at the end of the day, I just want to use it for level design. Like I can have this, and then I can add some wizard, and then I will have some kind of erosion, right? It's not really what you want all the time, but you can just modify these things until you have something like this. For example, you can combine different boronoids like this, and then you can put a wizard where you can simulate erosion and make it look realistic. And this is where you end up with something like this. You lose kind of like the level design a little bit, but it's fine. If you're wondering about Gaia, let me look it up for you. It's just right here. You can download for free. It has some limitations, like, let's see if I don't remember which one is where they see where you can see the difference between the free one and the paid ones. I have the indie version, so it don't come with all the features, but it comes with most of them. And I don't really use it that much, but I really like this workflow to try out new things. So if you're new to this, I'm gonna show you exactly what it is. Here you have the viewport where you have the terrain. Here you have the primitives, and then you have operations to do with the primitives. For example, I can grab a Voronoi Plus here, and you will see that I have this thing. I can grab, for example, a purling noise, and you will have something like this. Now, if you want to combine those two, there is a node called combine. And you can see that in the left, the important ones are like in bold letters. So it can make your life more easy. So I can just combine these two. And now you will have a combination of blood. In the right, you have like different blend modes. You can add, you can subtract, you could put max, power, difference, all this kind of stuff. And you can change the ratio, like the intensity of how much you want these things. In my case, I just want to keep the Voronoi Plus. So the way I export this, I can just put an output. Okay, so I will just put my output here. And you can also grab it from here, like output, just like this. Or you could put a measure if you want. So if I do this, I need to make sure that I can mark for sport. F3 will mark for sport. And here on build, you will have the measure and the height. So for me, I don't really want the height. Let me just delete this output. I just want the mesh, just so I can show you what you can do with this. And color space, like just leave it on RGB. And the measure properties, you can use a OBJ. You can normalize vertex count. You don't really need change it that much. I will go for like 50,000 watts. Okay. Oh, it's like a ratio from, there you go, vertices, 46 million. You don't want that. You want something like, maybe 70,000 should be more than good enough. How about 128? 16,000 should be more than enough. Maybe 64, because this really is very blocky. I don't really need much vertices. So let's see. I can just go build and just start build. And it will have a screen here where I'm exporting the stuff. And then you will see here that I have my measure, which is a mesh, right? So I'm gonna import it here. I'm gonna go to the environment. I wouldn't go to levels yet. There must be some folder here for prototyping. If I don't have it now, it should be created. Maybe here. General blockouts. And here I can import my mesh. I can just drag it. And we don't want to import the textures or this kind of stuff. So go to textures, import textures, do not import. Static meshes, it is a static mesh. It's not a skeletal mesh. Materials, you don't want to import materials. Just leave it at default, should be okay. Now when I put this thing here, you will see that it's super small. which is not what you want, right? So let me just delete this. And what I'm gonna do is to just scale it up a little bit here in the right side. I can just change the transforms with maybe 15, maybe. Now the good thing about this method is that I can play with the size first, and then I can play with, you know, the shapes of the level. Like once I get the size, I can have an idea of like how far the player can go and this kind of stuff. Now the bad thing about this is these guys will, I need to rearrange them. Like I will just put the end key for those. Oh, actually, I want to see what happens if they start floating. And also this thing, you want to make it bigger, right? Just in case. Let me see. I'm flying. Oh, the reason I'm flying and I cannot snap them down, if I press Alt C, I will check the collision, which is the automatic. While this is great for props, it's not great for blockout. So I can just go here for a search. I can type complex and put use complex collision as simple. And here I will remove the collision. So now, if I play, everyone will fall. Which is okay. I mean, for testing purposes, we can just move this thing here. And if you want, you can just put the end button. If that makes you happy. You can have some units here. The rest you can leave like that. I believe you can grab all the units and just press end. So, if I play this now, everything will have collision, right? I can just play here, which is great. Now, I cannot jump in my game. That's not the rules. We haven't put it, and we haven't decided if we want to jump or not. So, you want to keep this in mind when creating your levels. What are your rules? If you can go down, can you go up again? And I think the camera is like overlapping like everything. Yeah, so this is a good way to try your levels and without thinking too much about it. Now, you can try and play with the settings, but normally it takes a while to create this kind of level design where you have something to play with. So instead of doing the measure, I will put an output. I will just put it here. I don't need a measure anymore. F3. Okay, so now in the graph, you have the measure, you have the output. You want to change the resolution for something really small, like maybe 127. And that's pretty much what you want to do. Also, if you don't like this shape, you can just click on randomize one of this. Just, oh, sorry, click the properties and change the seed value here. Okay, like this one I kind of like. This one has a lot of verticality. This one looks kind of interesting. Like you can imagine the player starts like here and some troops are on the top and some are here. Like maybe they have some archers or whatever. We can try that. So let's go here and let's go to output. Let's just build it. This node should be fixed by password deleted. Okay, let's just delete those. We don't need it. And then start build. And it will just start building. It should be very fast because it's a very small landscape. So what I will do here is just delete this, and I will go to my landscape, and I will import from file, and let me just grab one height map. It's here. Oh, I didn't export this as the right file. So I should put either PNG or RAW. I will put RAW for now, and let's check. Okay, so I can just go here, and there you go. Now you have something like this. Now maybe it's a little bit small, but you can put fit to data and import. If this doesn't work, maybe you wanna try to go for PNG. Let's just try it out. Okay, so it works. A couple of things. It's super height. So it's really simple. You just go here to the scale. I put the scale to maybe 5. There you go. And you see you have some things like this. That's very normal. So what you can do is to go here and put a blur. Let me try to find it. There you go. Blur. And you can just connect this one here and this one to the output. And you will see that everything is much more blurry. You can adjust the blur, like if you want a lot or a little. I can just put something like this. And then I can start build again. And now that I have this, I can just go to my landscape. Go to, should be a place to, there you go, import landscape. You want to import the landscape. Heightmap file. And this time we're gonna go for this one, import. And there you go. Now you see that iteration is really important. If you don't have nice iteration, it will take a long time to try to import and change the settings and all these things. That's why I like to do some things in Unreal. Where I will go from here, like this is, for example, very flat. Typically, you don't want this in your games. But what I'm trying to do here is to find how far the player should go and how tall the elevations should be. So if I put this player here, I can just move it up and then play. I can just pass my turn. Wow, what happened there? I can just go here, and definitely this is too tall. Too tall for a landscape. A couple of things we should do. First is the scale. Maybe we want this to be 50% smaller. That can be. And also, you can maybe put 1.5 for the height, or maybe 2. And we can try again. We can just move this thing here. Pass the turn. Let those guys fall. There you go. Oh no, this looks like a decent size to me. Like, it's not too tall. Like, I feel I could aim a target. For example, I can aim this one. I can just try to attack it. I know there is no way to go back. That's why we will also need to put some things here, part of the level design. But it's just really a great way to try things out. Yeah, very cool. So where can you go from here? The idea is that you can have a base, but do not commit to this base. Okay? It's just a starting point. So let me just move these guys up. Now that I have a starting point, I can start trying some things out. Like for example, the distance that we will have in battles, how they will be. Now, there are a lot of things you can try. For example, you could put a bridge here. Like manually, you can literally go to modeling tools, go to box, just put this one here. And then you can just only edit and create a bridge like this. Something like that. And then you can just go here, put it in position, something like that. Later you can test it if that's something you want or not. Play with this character. Like you can see it's a little bit too high. Like from distance it looks okay, but when you play the game, and this is something that you should always pay attention to, when you play the game, there's always a difference between, you know, the god view where you have everything, and then when you play it, especially if it's a third-person game, if it's too close, it will just you may find some discrepancies in the size of your stuff, so you can just move things out like this, for example. And I shouldn't rotate this thing like this, but there you go. And this should be better. Let me just move this thing here. Oops. This our unit. There you go. Okay. Now I can just go here and I can just move around. Be aware of this slope angle. You need to be very careful for this. Of course you can change this in the landscape if you want, and I highly encourage you to do this. If you really want to like put your more details in your landscape, you can go here and try to, for example, you can put a stratify, or you cannot see what I'm typing. When I type, it's like this is my second monitor and my main screen is on the right. So I can just try this one. You can see it's quite different. So you can see the properties of this one. You can change the intensity and apply changes. Some of them you need to apply the changes because it's like a very okay, something like that. And go for the classic. Substrata. I thought that was the name for the Unreal materials. Anyway, you can go here, for example, like mountain. and you have things like this where you can blend, or you can start doing some erosion. Like the wizard is the most common one, so you can go for wizard, and you will see that you have something like this. You can put like this kind of erosion. It has some settings here for past. This should be like quite big, yeah, something like that. And then you can go for maybe this one. You can go for this one. And now that I think about it, I don't want to do the 4-pass, just fast erosion. Then we can do something like this and just change these settings. Until you have like, you know, it's just something you like. And the reason this is like this is because your slope angle is not that. Let's just say this is too harsh, which is good for trying things out. But maybe you can combine those with another boronoid. So I can just put a boronoid here. Let's try to find it. There you go. I can put a boronoid and I can combine these two. And I'm not gonna worry about the materials now because I'm only using the level design. I think insert something like this could work, but that's a little bit too much. So I will change the scale to something like this, and the jitter we can use, and the seat, of course, something like this. And then when we combine those, we have something like this, more natural, if this is what you want. And of course, this is like good enough. You can just change this thing here. And then you can blur it. And then in the wizard, you will have things like this. And then you can go for this one if you want, but it's not really the detail I want to add. So I will just try another one. Maybe, I remember there was something here really nice. Or maybe we can try this one. It's really fun to play with these nodes and see what are the options. This is kind of nice, but it will also not help for the level design. I will show you why. I will put this thing here, and I save it, and I will start my build, and you will see what I mean when I import my landscape again. And just go to my landscape, go here, and now I can just click on this one, import, and you will have like a lot of noise. And also you won't have the resolution because this is a landscape that was generated, you know, in Gaia, where you have a lot of resolution, and we're only importing like 127. So all those details that you see in Gaia, you don't really need to worry about in the level design because this resolution is quite good. And of course, you will lose some height on the process because of the erosion. It will make everything like, you know, it will make everything go down. So you just need to adjust the scale a little bit, maybe 2.5, and make sure like you got all these guys in position. That's the thing about level design. You cannot just decorate the level. I know there are a lot of tutorials that are focused on, you know, creating levels in Unreal, but they don't really create game levels. They just decorate the levels. That part comes after this. So and then you can adjust some things here if you want. Make sure the navigation is surrounding everything, which is not. So I will just go here and there you go. Now I can just play. Now you will see that my landscape, it's much more natural compared to before where it was mostly the blockout. Now, it may be something that you want. It may be something that you don't want. But in any case, it all depends on what you are looking for. For example, if you are doing like a inside environment, you can still use landscapes. You will just need to paint different types of materials. Of course, you can use, and you will need to add a lot of more meshes. If you're doing like this kind of stuff where you just want to go around and explore the game, you can do that. And if you want to test some mechanics, you can definitely do that. Now, I feel like I like this thing. I feel like it has potential. Whenever you want to adjust something, for example, you want to make this part go lower, you can just sculpt here. And this is something that a lot of people don't realize, is that you can actually modify things after you already import. It's not like you need to go back to Gaia and modify things. You can just do it here. So I can go around and put a ramp, for example, just like this. And I can just make it like this. I can move it around. And then I can just press enter. And now I will have a way to go down. If I have something that I want to fix, I can just go to the smooth. I can decrease the brush size, and I can just make these things like this. Now, I know you like this kind of shapes. I like them too. But in reality, when you add more meshes and more stuff, you will see them less and less and less. So unless you really want to, don't add any mesh to your environment, I will recommend you to leave them. But sometimes, if I smooth things out, you will say, oh, it looks worse. But I can also put some assets here. Well, for example, I have some mega scans assets. Let's just go for static mesh. I can just put this thing here. And as I continue to put more and more assets, you will see less and less of the erosion surface that Gaia creates. That is really nice. But in the game, when you add more and more things, it becomes very irrelevant. While it's loading, I can go for some questions. Oh, there are a lot. Yeah, I have people from India. That's nice. Yeah, there are a lot of things to learn. Like, you just go little by little until you manage to finish something, even if it's a small, and then you go for big and big things. So don't worry about it. It's not like Sea of Thieves. It's more like a strategy game where there are points. Points. I'm sorry. Um, turns for your game. So It's like Final Fantasy Tactics, Fire Emblem. Those are the most famous ones. This one is mixed with a little bit of action, so how do you drop actors on the ground level? It's very easy. I just did that. I just grab this and put it here. So this is what I wanted to show you. When I add some assets here, just like this one, for example, I'm blending with my environment. And later on, with materials and all these things, you won't notice. It really doesn't matter if I import something pretty or not, because the assets will cover these things. And the same thing can be done here. I also can have some ground assets I can use. But of course, these shapes are really nice. Just keep in mind that these shapes here can be a little bit annoying for gameplay. Let me show you what I mean. Let me just pass my turn and go to my assortment. I hope I can get there. And that's the thing. Like, you have this bar here that if you use it up, if you use it all, you won't be able to do more actions. So if you're here, you have this thing that it may cause some problems at the time of fighting or putting the enemy here. If it's too extreme, you will find some collision issues. But if not, a little bit is fine. I think this one is okay. A little bit is fine. It will make your environment look much more natural. But once you have this, you can just go up and just try some things here. We can just go and... By the way, for this master material, if you're curious about how I made it, this is not using Quixel textures. It's using... I mean, it's using Quixel texture, but it's not using the Quixel material for default because it's very expensive to render every unique texture for each asset. We have a tutorial on how I did that. You can check the live stream sessions. You will see that all the process from creating this material from scratch. I'm not very familiar with physics in Unreal. Usually I leave this to run. So we do have a tutorial on how to make a car game. You can check it out if you want. But anyway, you can just put these rocks here, these rock formations, and just decorate your environment with like this, right? And just by doing that, you already have, little by little, you will start making your environment look better. But for me, I feel like these are the things that I wanted to show you for level design. I wanted to create this for some time ago. Like this thing, for example, is a little bit weird for me, so I will just go to the landscape and smooth things out. And if you really want to add some noise, you can just sculpt with very little strength. And just with shape and then strength again. And you can just put it like this, just pretty much what you had before. So you can have things like that if you want, right? I will typically leave this kind of details until the end. For now, I want to check how far I can go. And of course, we can also adjust the stamina of the characters. We don't really need to adjust the size of the map. That really will depend on a lot of things. But anyway, Thank you so much for coming. I will show you more details about this game in the future, and also others will also share more live streams and more of this kind of stuff. If you want to learn more about us, just feel free to check our website where we have an action game that you can create from scratch. You can start the first lesson for free if you are into game development and want to learn how to create an action game. You can do that there, and you can subscribe for more if it's the first time you see us. Subscribe if you want to learn more about game development. We have a lot of tutorials. I'm sure you will have a lot of information there, and you can start your development journey. Okay, I will see you next time. Bye.